UFC Paris was an absolute banger with an undercard that you could only dream of. Nasruddin Imavov in the main event put the nail in the coffin. That was the Fighting Nerds. My name is Angelo. This is We Want Picks, and I'm going to recap and react to every single fight from UFC Paris. Before I talk about the fights, let me talk about Jacob. I don't typically recap Jacob's live streams because there's so much going on. He is live for 6 hours. There's no possible way for me to keep up with what hit and what didn't hit. If you don't know, Jacob is live on this channel for free for most fight cards. And he's just hanging out, watching fights with you all, and just placing bets. Half the bets are based off of comments in the live stream. The other bets are just based off of how he feels in that moment. And this is a $25 bet that paid out almost $15,000. He was on an absolute heater. What Jacob did on today's free UFC Paris live stream was that of legends. Here's some screenshots of the tweets. He was every fight tweeting, hit a plus 600, hit a plus 1200, hit a plus 500. It was absolutely insane what they were doing on that live stream. So that was a ton of fun for the many thousands of you that watched. If you didn't watch and you didn't know he does the fight companions pretty much every week, not next week because him and I will be at Noche UFC together. But keep an eye out. If you don't subscribe, click subscribe. And on Saturdays, if you're usually just watching the fights alone, throw him on, follow along, play some bets with him, and have a good time. Here's a look at my bets. Did I make money? I sure did. Was it any amount that matters? No. And you might as well have picked the nickel up off the street. But I didn't lose money. And that's where we're at. So the win streak somewhat continues. The safety parlay did hit Sam Hughes, Oumar Sy. I had that placed a week ago at minus 135. Those odds did kind of get away. Lost the Gustafsson bet. We'll break down that fight. Only a quarter unit there. I was a little nervous about it. I was shocked that Sam Hughes won inside the distance. That was her first ever finish in the UFC. And of course, it happens when I parlay the over 2.5. Kaue Fernandes, super confident. That Robert Bryczek inside the distance decision, no action, ended up being a great bet. And then Mauricio Ruffy burned down everybody's house. And here's a look at all of the bets, not just mine. This does not include the absolute generational wealth that Jacob put on the board during the live stream as well. You can go ahead and pause here if you want to deep dive these. And if you want to leave us a message and leave your opinion on these fights, let us know how your night went. Let us know which fights you loved, you hated, and some matchups you want to make next. Leave us a message at 866-WE-WANT-PICKS. That's 866-939-2687. Let's go ahead and talk about these fights. We opened up with an unbelievable undercard. Every single fight on that undercard delivered, and most of the main card fights delivered as well. We started with Sam Hughes running through Shauna Bannon. I sat here. Listen, I had a couple of strong opinions on this fight card. They weren't all correct. This one was, though. I said Shauna Bannon's terrible. Shauna Bannon is not a UFC level fighter. She's absolute dog shit. She did not beat Alice Ardeline. She only beat Pooja Tamar because Pooja's an idiot. And she's not good. That sidekick game is nonsense at this level. And Sam Hughes just moved forward, got her takedowns, grinding, and just pummeled. Absolutely pummeled Shauna Bannon. Shauna Bannon's supposed to be a jiu-jitsu black belt. Did you see that here? I didn't. I don't know who's handing out these belts. People just doling out belts like dollars at a strip club. Absolutely insane. She got mauled. She should be cut. She's not very good. Even in her wins, not exciting. Like, I don't know what my issue is with Shauna Bannon. I think it's literally the fight style. The hopping sideways to throw those kicks. Let's stop trashing her and start praising Sam. I think she's on a 4-fight win streak now, and she's doing it with just good old-fashioned hard work, grit, and determination. She's not particularly fast. She's not insanely strong. She's not naturally gifted. She just works her ass off and moves forward in the fights and stays tough and grinds and sticks to a game plan. Trains really hard, and this is what you can do with that. If you have a work ethic and you're tough as hell, which Sam Hughes is, you can do pretty well. Now, is this like an unbelievable win? We should be talking about title shots? No. She beat somebody who doesn't belong to be here, but Sam Hughes looked absolutely fantastic. The easiest pick I had on this card, and I think most of us felt this way. A few people had Shauna Bannon, but I don't truly think anybody was picking Shauna Bannon because they watched tape and said she's the better fighter. I imagine every single person on this planet that said Shauna Bannon would win would be like, it's women's MMA, and she's an underdog, so I'm going to pick her. That has to be what it was, because if you watch tape, no way you left that being like she's good. Now, if you watch tape on this fight, I don't know what happened. Because the tape and what actually happened in the Gustafsson-Fakhretdinov fight were two very different things. The tape said Andreas Gustafsson is going to move forward and get in your face and stay tough no matter what and set an insane Merab-style pace. What we actually got was Rinat moving forward, throwing a bunch of strikes super quick, and then Andreas folded. They showed the replay a bunch of times, and I don't really see like the one huge strike that did it. To me, it felt like Rinat came out here, set the tone immediately, overwhelmed Andreas, and I think he broke mentally from the initial exchange. The first minute was Rinat holding the head and just ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba, going crazy. And then they broke, and then Rinat just took over. We didn't need any wrestling whatsoever. He ended up finishing him, and Andreas, I don't want to say he quit because he's a lot tougher than I'll ever be, but he quit. I mean, he quit. He looked for a way out, and they gave it to him. He wasn't unconscious. He turned. Like, okay, ref, you can do your thing now. So the question to you all is, was that a fraud check? I actually don't think it was a fraud check because in my mind, it was the best fighter he has ever fought. Like, Rinat is very, very good. Andreas Gustafsson was an underdog in this fight, and then the line slowly moved. I don't think this was a situation where we would say a fraud check. What I do think is he either kind of sucks and he got away with it with Chaos Williams because Chaos kind of sucks, or there's just levels to this. And Andreas is as good as we thought he was, but Rinat is just that much better. We don't typically see Rinat coming out here with big power and aggressive striking, but maybe he changed up the game plan because he knew what was on the other side. He knew if I got in this guy's face, maybe I can dictate. I can't let him back me up. Either way, this was a very quick fight. This fight ended in 1 minute. This was a 1 minute fight. 1 minute of the first round, this fight ended. So, not much. I've spent more time talking about it than we actually saw. I'm curious. And I know a lot of people, especially gamblers, I know how you people are. I'm in that category, but I can forgive people. We'll talk about Oumar Sy in a minute. A lot of you can't. So I can't imagine the hate that Andreas Gustafsson's getting in this comment section right now, on Twitter and everywhere else. I am curious. Do you guys think that was a fraud check? Or, hey, listen, Rinat's just good. He just lost to the better fighter? Or, no, he sucked this whole time. I don't know why people thought he didn't suck. Then we had a very fun fight. Robert Bryczek taking on Brad Tavares. When I sit here and I say picks and bets are not the same thing, I mean it. Picks and bets are not the same thing. To treat them equally is an absurd thing to do. And there's a lot of people out there who do treat them equally. Just track bits, pretend that picks are bets, and then use that for some whatever the fuck. This is a perfect fight where picks and bets are not the same thing. I broke down this fight. I said, listen, I'm going to pick Brad Tavares. I think these odds are absurd. I think they're absurd. Nobody should bet on Brad Tavares. Then the prop bets came out, and I saw the Robert Bryczek inside the distance decision, no action prop bet, and I took it. Because in my mind, and what I said in the breakdown, was that Robert is the more dangerous fighter. He's the more dangerous of the two. Brad Tavares is not dangerous at all. He's the more well-rounded MMA fighter. He has years of experience. And honestly, for a minute there, it looked like Brad was going to turn the tide. So we had Robert Bryczek come out here early. Was fast, was clean. He was just walking Brad down. Brad was literally on a bicycle 100% of this fight. And the only time he wasn't running backwards was because Robert had him almost knocked out and he just dove at legs and was able to take Robert down. And I don't know if that was an indication of, turns out Robert's takedown defense is dog shit, or Robert's just swinging from the hip, firing away, trying to get the knockout, so he didn't really defend the takedown in time. But Brad Tavares didn't look bad. I don't think this was, he's full washed, he sucks. I think this was, Bryczek was dialed in. His striking looked spectacular. He was landing clean. He was doing really good work. Brad started throwing leg kicks. He got the takedown. Where Brad messed up is he didn't continue to wrestle. Like, you got that easy takedown, great control on top. You were backed up against the cage and all those things. But what he needed to do was second round all in on the wrestling. Like, you felt the power. You were almost knocked out. Why are we engaging in the striking again? The last time you did that, you were almost knocked out. So I don't know why he didn't go full wrestling, especially because Robert's a big dude. Like, look at Look at his, this sounds gay. Look at his muscles right now. That's a big dude. And he needs to get oxygen to all of those muscles for 15. Make him work. Make him work. But he didn't. He literally just ran backwards as Robert walked him down. Second round, not much happened. He let Robert catch his breath, which he should not have done, but maybe he was still shaking off his cobwebs. Third round, Robert got his guts back, shook his arms out, ended up finishing Brad Tavares. It's a tricky situation because Brad is a very well-accomplished fighter. He's a little older. I mentioned in the breakdown he's, 36 in real life, but 48 in fight years. He's not who he used to be, but he's still very good. But what makes this tricky is now that he has a win at that level, Robert's stuck fighting people at that level, and I don't know if he's there. I just don't know. Is this Brad getting chinny because he's older, or is Robert just that good? The takedown that Brad shot was well-timed, and he got it easily. So that's another complication here because I don't know if Bryczek's takedown defense sucks or that was just a very well-timed, perfect takedown. Either way, we cashed the bet on Bryczek. We picked Tavares, and that's why picks and bets are not the same thing. I don't know what we're going to do with Robert Bryczek next. I don't know how good he can be, but he looked very good in this fight, and we'll find out if he's going to be the Jan Blachowicz 2.0. They kept saying Polish power, paying homage to the Polish fighters before him, but Bryczek looked absolutely fantastic. Then we had Sam Patterson knock out Trey Waters. And this was another tricky fight for me because when I broke it down, I hated on Sam Patterson all week, so my bad. I said I hate his fight style, chin in the air, he gets tagged up, and he is just see-through complexion. Almost every single one of those things is true. He did get tagged up. You can see the side of his nose here is bleeding. Obviously, he won this fight. But this fight felt like whoever was throwing the punch first was landing the punch. They were beating the hell out of each other. Sam Patterson won by KO, and if you put the two of them together after the fight, Sam Patterson's the one whose face was all fucked up. And this isn't an excuse. He won that fight very clear. My point is, this was just a sloppy, back and forth slug fight. I don't think I saw this and said, wow, Sam is very good. I obviously saw it and said, holy shit, Sam does have some power. But he doesn't have striking defense. When I broke this down, I said, I like Trey Waters to win here. I don't know if I'm going to bet on him because he hasn't fought in a full year and he is 6'5" at this weight class. There's a lot of factors there. And thank God I didn't bet on him. I was hovering over a plus 3.5 because I'm like, he's a dog. He's durable. And I didn't do it. And thank God that is what saved me. But good for Sam Patterson. He officially has, I believe, the most amount of first-round finishes of active fighters or the longest first-round finish streak, something like that. But he's putting away people early. And this is the second knockout in a row. So I can talk about how hittable he is and how bloody his face gets. That's probably his complexion more than anything. But I can't deny his power. He is finding power. Sam Patterson's getting it done. Good for Sam Patterson. Great win. Trey Waters, I think he just needs to get back at it. I obviously you got to give it some rest, especially after a TKO, but I think he needs to get back at it, fight in the next couple of months, shake this off. This was a year removed. He had ACL surgery, like a whole bunch of issues. Just get back at it. Maybe this was an anomaly because he fought somebody his height and that threw him off, or maybe he's just not that good. And what we've seen is just him beating up lesser opponents. Then we had one of the most embarrassing fights I've ever seen in my entire life. I had secondhand embarrassment for Cage Warriors. Everybody on this planet that has lived in Europe and thrown a punch has somehow become a Cage Warriors champion. All of them. Cage Warriors might literally have the worst champions in history. Because this gentleman here, Harry Hardwick, was a Cage Warriors champion with like an unbelievable win streak. Doing all the things, making his UFC debut. Sure, he was up and waiting. It was short notice. I have to acknowledge those things. But getting your leg destroyed to the point where they're wheeling you out, and it was like a clown car of wheelchairs. It was the most embarrassing looking wheelchair I've ever seen. They're wheeling him out of the octagon and he's waving. That had to be, dude, I would rather you grab my arms and drag me out on my back like a toddler throwing a temper tantrum at a target before you wheel me out of here. You are not wheeling me at this. That is the embarrassment I had for him, his children, his parents. Oh my God, was that embarrassing. If we talk about the fight, Kaue Fernandes, I bet on him full-blown unit minus 155. He beat the fuck out of Harry Hardwick. And listen, the picks were all over the place tonight. And this was an easy pick, but the analysis is what I'm going to highlight here because I said this dude lets his leg get chewed up and Kaue Fernandes is an unbelievable leg kick merchant. And that's what he did. He just beat the shit out of this dude's legs. Guy makes no adjustments whatsoever. Not an athletic bone in his body. I mean, it was an embarrassing performance. If he came out here and brought some dog and his leg got chewed up and it is what it is, fine. It is what it is, right? Like, we've seen Jose Aldo break people. Jose Aldo beat the hell out of Uriah Faber with leg kicks. And I didn't leave that being like, Uriah sucks. I was like, wow, look how good Jose Aldo's leg kicks are. But I left this being like, Hardwick sucks, dude. And then immediately, how bad is Cage Warriors? Kaue Fernandes is good. I wish we got the Fakhretdinov fight because I picked Kaue against Fakhretdinov. I didn't hear another person on this planet do it. Everybody was insisting he was going to lose. Even this fight, Kaue was a minus 180 favorite. It went all the way down to minus 155. People couldn't stand him before this fight. I don't know why. The number one reason I ever got back in any of the comments for why people don't like Kaue is, oh, he lost to Mark DeCasey and Mark sucks. Dude, he was out-wrestled by Mark DeCasey. And you're right, Mark DeCasey's not very good, but he was out-wrestled by him. And it was his UFC debut. And it wasn't embarrassing. Look at this dude. Look at this picture. He is on his back, like a kitten that you just took out of the water, frozen. This is embarrassing. Kaue Fernandes smokes a short notice regional bum that's up in weight. So, like, Kaue looked great. He was supposed to look great. So, I don't know what they do with him next. Hopefully Fakhretdinov's not hurt. His grandmother died. So, I don't know what they're going to do next. I don't think they're going to immediately turn Kaue around, although they can. He absorbed probably 0 strikes in this fight. Cage Warriors is bad. Any Europeans watching, am I wrong? Am I way off base here? And Cage Warriors is actually very good and their champions just happen to suck, or it just happens to be their champions that end up in the UFC that suck? Like, and they've been around for a million years, so you can pull out Connor's from Cage Warriors. Okay. And so is Harry Hardwick. Then we had Ante Delija making something happen. This is one of the few fights where the line movement and the flipping of the line was accurate. For the most part, a lot of the line flips and the big line movement was not accurate. The money was coming in on the wrong person. In this one, it was accurate. We had Ante Delija and his third nipple absolutely destroy our boy. And it was a pretty straightforward beating. He came in here. He threw so many strikes so fast against Marcin Tybura. It looked like, if you're an old school, everybody likes to throw out the term casual. You are not a casual if you know the reference I'm making. It looked like Vanderlei Silva and Vitor Belfort from, UFC 13 or 10 or some shit. That's what it looked like. Ante Delija came out, backed him up, gave him a problem. But Marcin is a tried and true vet. He turns it. He gets Ante against the cage, slows the pace, leans on him a little bit. And I was like, okay. Ante blew his wad, and now Marcin's going to take over. And then they make space, and Ante just puts him out. Put him out, dude. We haven't seen Marcin get put out that bad outside of the Tom Aspinall fight. So Ante Delija showed up. The hands were fast as hell, and he ended up putting out Marcin Tybura. And Marcin's old, but so is Ante. So I don't think this is like, he's old, he's washed. Well, like, Ante Delija's just as old, like a year younger. He does have a third nipple. Okay, here is the third nipple. Did that help him, is the question. Did the third nipple help Ante Delija? Is it fair? Is it fair to fight with 3 nipples? I mean, that's a straight up nipple. It has an areola. It's got the suck part. That's a nipple. This guy's got 3 nipples. If you watch Friends, Chandler called it a nubbin. That's not a nubbin. That's a full nipple with the areola, all the pieces. There's probably a hair too. I don't know if that's fair. And maybe that was a problem. Maybe Marcin Tybura was just staring at that thing and then he ate a big one. Then we had Oumar Sy on the redemption tour. Couple of things. I'm going to say some nice things. I'm going to say some bad things. Nice things, I threw him in the safety parlay. After he blew up, I believe he was in the safety parlay that he blew up. After he blew up the safety parlay when he lost to a 40-year-old in a staring contest, I put him back in this one. Because the reality is, while fighters are seen as only as good as their last fight, especially if you read a comment section on any video ever, the reality is fighters are more than just their last fight. And looking at Oumar Sy's last fight, he was frozen in time. It was awful. It was awful, and we really railroaded the French after that performance. But if you look at his other performances, he is a giant freak athlete who can wrestle when he needs to. And I thought that was what was going to happen here. I was like, listen, he's going to be in trouble early. He might get hit a few times because Brendson Ribeiro gets after it, and then he's immediately going to shoot a takedown. He wasn't even in trouble early. He landed a really stiff jab and then immediately shot a takedown. And once this fight was on the ground, oh my God, dude. Oumar Sy needs to be wrestling more. He is huge. He's huge. It looked like me wrestling Jacob. Once he got on the ground, he was just doing whatever he wanted to. Tremendous. Flowing in any direction. He just did whatever he wanted to. So he beat the absolute piss out of Brendson Ribeiro, gets the first round finish. The reality is, I'm not convinced he's great. Like even though he landed that big stiff jab, his striking seems a bit uncomfortable. So we'll see who he gets in his next fight. And I can't even say, oh, he's definitely going to take them down because he didn't do shit when he lost to Alonzo Menafield. So he's still untrustworthy, but we're just going to have to very much look into his opponent. Who is he fighting? Because Brendson Ribeiro, while he is dangerous, he has a quit button. We've talked about the quit button. We've seen the quit button. And Oumar Sy found that quit button. A giant freak athlete with wrestling like that, the top pressure like that, if he went all in on the wrestling and just turned into Jalton Almeida, he could have a ton of success in this division, especially right now. It's kind of weak right now. Then we had William Gomis in kind of an interesting fight. First of all, the most unoriginal joke I saw flying around on Twitter. I saw no fewer than 10 Twitter accounts tweeting that undercard was spectacular. Now let's hit the main card and look who showed up. And it's just a picture of William Gomis. Or like, great undercard. There goes our momentum, and a picture of William Gomis. Everybody, I don't know who the originator was of that joke. The first person to do it, clever. The 30 other people that did it, when they just robbed somebody else's joke and thought that they were clever, dorks. Be original. Come on, guys. But yeah, the general consensus on Twitter after one person was original was that undercard was unbelievable, and now William Gomis is going to destroy everything because he's going to land 5 strikes and dance around and be French. This was a little more competitive and back and forth than that. First of all, one judge had it 30-27. That's obscene. This was 29-28. It was not a 30-27. William was in trouble. He got taken down a few times. He got backed up. A couple of clean shots landed. But he ended up just taking over. He was clean. He was fast. Good counter striking. Like, William Gomis was the better fighter here. He deserved to win. It was clear he was the better fighter. The takedown defense is questionable, though, because Robert Ruchala just moved forward and threw William to the ground. Didn't pick him up, but like body clinch, bang, threw him to the ground. A couple times. 2 takeaways. Nasty head kick at the end. 3rd round, Robert Ruchala lands an unbelievable head kick that has William Gomis stumbling and wobbling and just a problem. Like he ended up toughing it out. But unbelievable head kick. And my takeaway was, holy shit, Gomis has a chin, because he ate it. He was stumbling, but he recovered. He fired back. So William Gomis does have a little bit of dog in him, and he ate that huge headshot. The other takeaway is the most intentional eye poke I've ever seen. And the broadcast team was doing everything possible not to point out how obviously intentional that was. Paul Felder was like, typically, somebody will throw a punch with open fingers and then try to close them or push away, and they'll poke their eyes like that. But Gomis threw a closed fist punch and opened it right before it connected. And they're like, well, sometimes that happens. That doesn't happen sometimes. The main event had like 5 eye pokes, and it was all Nasruddin, who fights with his hands open, pushing away. William Gomez to throw a closed fist punch and then open the fingers at the last second was the most intentional shit I've ever seen in my life. No point taken, barely a warning. It could have, if they took a point, I mean, there was that rogue 30-27, but the other 29-28s, it would have changed the entire fight, and this would be a very different situation. Ultimately, the better fighter won, and that eye poke did not affect the outcome. It's not as if Robert was winning and then the eye poke screwed him. So I'm not pissed about it. It's not that big of a deal, but it was a very intentional eye poke, and nobody seemed to give a shit. Then we had technical difficulties. Right about now, right before the Reese-McKee fight, there were technical difficulties. And it wasn't just me. I saw everybody all over the internet having these issues. The video would get fuzzy, and then boom, we would get this screen. And it lasted for like 5 minutes. We didn't miss any actual fight, but we thought we would. My question to you all is, do you think this is Stream East related? So if you don't know, maybe you do, maybe you don't. The largest illegal streaming platform on planet Earth is called Stream East, and it was shut down like 3-4 days ago. And then all of a sudden, ESPN is having like major technical issues. In my mind, one of the theories is maybe there's just that much more volume streaming this event because a huge amount of illegal streamers don't have their tried and true option anymore. So a bunch of them probably popped back over to ESPN and watched it the legitimate way. That's a theory. Let me know if you think it's just ESPN doing ESPN shit or if this is somehow related. I mean, Stream East had millions of illegal streamers. And obviously not all of them give a fuck about UFC, let alone in the middle of the day. And not all of those people would just immediately run the ESPN and either pay for a subscription or borrow somebody else's. But seems a little convenient because while people hate ESPN and the app and the navigation, we don't really have outages like this because then from this point forward, it started happening quite a bit. Then we had Reese-McKee get dotted up by Axel Sola. And it was an interesting fight to watch because the first 2-3 minutes was like, whoa, dude, Axel Sola is good. Lightning fast. He's throwing punches right down the middle, just connecting clean. But Reese just ate those shots. He just ate them. His head would snap back, he'd bleed, and he was right there moving forward. And then all of a sudden, it felt like the tides were turning. It felt like Reese-McKee was landing big. And Reese-McKee was snapping Axel's head back. And then Reese would just stop throwing again. And Axel would start to take over. Axel's up in weight on short notice, and Reese-McKee was having success when he threw, but he just stopped throwing. This is just a frustrating situation to watch. I had no bet on Reese-McKee, but it's a frustrating situation when you watch a fighter have a path and just not take it. And this isn't even the, hey, you're losing the striking, try wrestle nonsense that I talked about with Brad Tavares. This is when you throw punches, you are landing clean. And there was a few exchanges where everybody was like, oh shit, Reese might pull this off. And then he would just stop throwing punches. He would move forward and he would do like his stupid Muay Thai bullshit where he'd push the head and try to set something up, but not actually throw anything. And because Axel's not stupid, he would just throw punches over the top. So it's a little frustrating if you were rooting for Reese because why are you not throwing punches? Now, Axel is definitely a decent prospect because as much as he was getting tagged up early, which, you know, if you are in the camp that Reese-McKee sucks, then you should be a little concerned that Axel Soli was getting dotted up by somebody that you think sucks every time he threw a punch. But I'll just throw that out the window. The dude stepped up on short notice, up in weight. He's a muscular dude, so he definitely had to cut weight, even though he was up. I keep talking about how muscular these dudes are. But he was landing clean. He was landing fast. He initiated a couple of takedowns. The guy went to Dagestan. And he's French, and he didn't fight like a French. Good for Axel Sola. It was also, that stoppage was bullshit. That was a bad stoppage. Doesn't matter, because Reese was going to lose this fight anyway. But that was a bad stoppage. Reese was working his way back up. Wasn't like a complete mess. He was on the ground, obviously, and he was getting hit, but he was blocking, grabbing the wrist, working his way back up. Bad stoppage, but again, if Pointing out a bad stoppage, great. It's all well and good. But if it didn't actually change the winner, who cares? Axel was going to win this fight. No matter what, he was going to win this fight. So the fact that it was a stoppage instead of a decision win, all right, closer to a bonus. But it's not like Reese got screwed. You got a suspension, all those things. There's a TKO loss on his record, but it's not like he got screwed out of his win bonus. Then we had a really fun fight. The first round of this fight had holy shit all over it. Because Borralho almost finishes Mason Jones. Almost finishes him. Clean, fast, powerful. And Mason just survives. And then Mason Jones almost finishes Borralho. They both dropped each other with striking. But once this fight was on the ground, the Mason Jones advantage was night and day. I mean, I was convinced that Mason was going to shoot a million takedowns. My breakdown was, anytime Mason Jones fights a good striker, he gets hit a few times, he wrestles his ass off. And in this case, he got hit a few times, fell to the ground, got up, knocked his opponent down, dominated with the grappling there, and then after that had some more success with the grappling, but didn't go all in on the wrestling. I was surprised he wasn't doubling and tripling down on that, but Mason Jones is as tough as you can get. Now, you could say, well, how tough is he that he got dropped in the first round? Borralho's fast. He hits hard. Mason Jones took that, came back, ended up doing his own damage and almost finishing, and then ultimately did finish with TKOs from top. Good for Mason Jones. And Borralho's got to work on that ground game. You got to work on it. Like, you're a phenomenal striker, so everybody's going to try to take you down. In this case, you also got knocked down, but everybody's going to try to take you down. You need to be able to get the absolute fuck out of there immediately so that you're not finished on top. So Borralho got to work on that ground game or you're going to end up being cut in like a year and a half after a couple random losses like this. But this was a great fight. I don't know what the fight bonuses are. I don't know what fight of the night is because I filmed this immediately after the event and that's just hasn't been announced yet. This could be up there for both of them because they both had success. Ultimately, Mason won though. Then we had one of the latest finishes I've seen. And we've seen finishes with literal 1 second left. This was one of that. Like, I wanted to see the replay in slow motion to see the exact timestamp the elbow landed. So, I had a roller coaster of emotions in this fight. I picked Modestas. I had Modestas in a parlay. Ultimately, it didn't matter because Ruffy fucked it. I had Modestas in a parlay. And I was like, listen, Paul Craig at this point in his career, he's washed the shit. If you go on the ground with him, you might have some trouble, but on the feet, you're fine. Just don't grapple. Just don't grapple. Why would you grapple? You have to be stupid to grapple. You must have not only one extra chromosome, maybe 2 extra chromosomes to be Modestas and then grapple with Paul Craig. And let's all take a guess. I'll let you guess if Modestas grappled or not. Yeah, he sure fucking did. So dumb. So dumb. Had some success striking and then pushes Paul Craig against the cage and engages in the clinch against the cage. Just giving Paul Craig an opportunity. Then Paul Craig takes over the clinch, drags Modestas, almost gets him to the ground. Like, just so stupid. Just so stupid. Why are you even engaging with that? My notes, let's read the notes. My raw notes. So when I watch these fights live, I take notes with exactly how I'm feeling in that moment so that when I go back and I break down Modestas the next time, I don't have this like warm, fuzzy, like, oh yeah, he knocked out Paul Craig. No, I have my notes. My notes are, I'm sorry if I'm about to offend some people, retarded for engaging in grappling against the cage. Threw an insane elbow with a half a second left and KO'd him. Retarded for engaging in the grappling against the cage. I feel very strongly about that. They end up on the ground. It felt like a half a second. That timestamp might be wrong. It felt like the buzzer might have even went off. And he lands a ridiculous elbow. An insane elbow from top. Paul Craig is just laying there limp and unconscious. And the ref's like, round's over. You getting up, bud? Saw that dude was dead in the eyes and called it. And it was incredible because a lot of people, you hear the 10-second clapper. All right, I'm on top. Let me ride it out. Let me start working about the next round. No, Modestas didn't care. Boom. Got it done. Paul Craig retired on the spot. And, you know, as much as we dog some fighters and, you know, I've called, actually, I don't know if I've called Paul Craig a jiu-jitsu nerd because he will get after it. He's not really butt scooting. But as much as I would get after Paul Craig for his fighting abilities, and I said he's not very good, he's not going to win this fight, you still have to appreciate the fighters who do go out there and put on a show. And there's never been a boring Paul Craig fight. Is he an unbelievable fighter? No. But every fighter on the roster can't be almost a world champion. That's not how this could possibly work. So you need some fighters who will just get after it and have no problem getting finished along the way. So congratulations to Paul Craig. I by all accounts, I would call it a successful career. He's in the UFC for a very long time, became a household name. Did he have insane success? No. Did he have a bunch of good wins? He sure did. And some good performances. So good for Paul Craig. Should be proud of himself, what he's done. Like, again, not everybody can be the best ever. But there's a lot of people who can work their ass off, put on a show. And as far as I'm concerned, to determine if your career was successful, you could go the accolade route, which is a very clear, easy route to go, and you should go that way. Like, did I accomplish greatness? But there's also the, hey, this is entertainment. Was I entertaining? Did people enjoy when I fought, either rooting for me or against me? And the answer to all of those for Paul Craig is yes. So good for him. You should be proud. He did the most he could do with that weak chin. Then we had a pretty insane fight. And it wasn't insane with like, oh, wow, what a back and forth war. It was insane because now we all know how fucking terrible Mauricio Ruffy's grappling is. It's bad. It's bad, bad. Now, he won a scramble or two where he ended up on top, but who gives a shit? Because the first time he won a scramble and ended up on top, he stood up just to get taken down again. The second time he won a scramble, ended up on top, he then lost that scramble. Mauricio Ruffy was frozen. The fact that Benoit Saint Denis was throwing a head kick and then shooting a takedown and getting it is insane. It's insane. And I fell for the fighting nerds, Mauricio Ruffy's the best one on the team narrative, hook, line, and sinker. And all of you who were insist that Benoit was going to win, he fought the higher level of competition, and I said he sure did, and he got finished by all of them. My bad. Hey, my bad. My bad, guy. My bad. Chill, bro. Fuck. Can't be wrong about a pick every now and then. Holy shit. We made money. But yeah, Mauricio Ruffy's grappling sucks. And like I said, I fell for the narrative because everybody in that fighting their gym, when they ask who's the best one in the gym, who's the most talented, they all said Mauricio Ruffy. But they're very clearly only talking about his striking. And he had moments of success on the feet. He had a jump knee that landed clean. He had a couple of clean strikes. But the problem is Benoit threatened the wrestling instantly. And so Mauricio got a little frozen. I tweeted a picture of Benoit shooting a takedown within the first 10 seconds. And I said, only one of these guys is fighting like a nerd. I said that sarcastically, a little bit in jest, but also kind of like, you know, I get it. You got to win the fight. I get it. But you just dive your crotch sniffing in 30 seconds? 30 seconds in, you're sniffing crotches? You're not going to engage in striking at all? And I get it. Why would you? Because the narrative was Mauricio Ruffy would smoke you. This is another fight. Is this a fraud check? Or is Benoit just the better fighter? To me, this is a fraud check. And the difference between a fraud check and a non-fraud check is the amount of hype behind the fighter and who they fought previously. In this case, the hype behind Mauricio Ruffy was insane. It was insane. The amount of money the UFC's putting into him and fighting there's all that bullshit. The hype was absolutely insane. And he's fought not really... You know, I'm arguing that Benoit hasn't fought anybody good either. Or beaten anybody very good either. But Mauricio Ruffy, to lose the way he lost, fraud check. When Benoit lost to Dustin Poirier, not a fraud check. Not a fraud check. Because Dustin Poirier is like all-timer. And he had some success in that fight. Mauricio Ruffy had zero success whatsoever. Benoit's a middle-of-the-road guy, and he got fucking smoked. Fraud check. Absolute fraud. And does that mean that fighting nerds in general suck? Because this one lost too. Kaue Borralho didn't look awful, but he didn't look very good either. And this is another tricky situation because on one hand, I want to dog him for not wrestling. On the other hand, he did shoot a few takedowns. He just couldn't get him. So at least he had the wherewithal to say, let me change this up. It just didn't work for him. And that's fine. But the problem is, then he was stuck in a kickboxing match with a faster, cleaner striker. So I've been calling him Cowhead all week. I picked Nasruddin. I said he's not going to knock him out because Kaue has a cow's head, and that is that Kaue has a cow's head. And we saw that cow head get hit over and over and over. He did have some moments of success. What I do appreciate about Kaue is he was losing the fight, and he knew he was losing the fight, so he tried to win. He didn't just accept his fate. He tried to win. He came out, he threw heavy. He tried to mix things up. Attempted a few takedowns that were pretty easily stuffed, but he at least bombed and tried to win. And that's all you can ask. That whole speech I gave when Paul Craig retired, not everybody can be the best in the world. You are going to lose. Somebody will be better than you. But how you lose and if you put yourself in a position to win matters. And I feel like Kaue put himself in a position to win. He wasn't able to. He just was not the better fighter. His wrestling wasn't good enough to really get going, and his striking wasn't good enough to compete. So when his plan A, striking, didn't work, and plan B wasn't good enough, the hell's he got? So that's kind of it. Imavov was fast, was clean, was powerful. The only time anybody looked like they were in any trouble whatsoever was Nasruddin in a couple of nasty combinations. Kaue had some success with the low leg kick. He blasted Nasruddin's leg a few times. He should have just really dialed that in, kept going to it. But I think he was worried every time he's throwing that, there's a strike coming his way because Nasruddin was just clean and fast. Borralho got beat. There was a 50-45. It didn't feel like a 50-45. I thought Kaue won the first round because not a lot happened. And then Kaue pushed Nasruddin up against the cage, kind of held him there for a little bit, but not much happened. So what's the scoring criteria? Damage, there was none. Effective striking, there was none. Effective grappling. All right, well, Kaue held Nasruddin against the cage for a minute and a half, so give it to him. So I thought it was 4 rounds to 1. One judge said 5-0. Nasruddin won this fight. If you remember, Dana White said, we're going to do 2 different middleweight fights. We're going to take the best 4 middleweights who aren't Khamzat. We'll match them up, and then whoever wins in most spectacular fashion gets the title shot. Imavov won this fight. The only other person that he's competing against is the winner of the RDR Anthony Hernandez fight. So do you think Nasruddin won in dominant enough fashion or exciting enough fashion to get the title shot? Or are we at this point like, yeah, whoever wins the RDR Anthony Hernandez fight is going to get the title shot because both those guys get after it and that'll be a better fight? I don't know. You guys, let me know. That was the entire card. Do not forget to subscribe. I opened up this entire thing with a $15,000 ticket that Jacob won on just the free live stream on this channel. Just the free live stream on this channel. So subscribe because maybe you didn't know he did those videos and it'll pop up on your feed next time. Artem does the Contender Series videos for us on this channel. That son of a bitch has picked 3 of 4 Contender Series events this season perfectly. After you subscribe, go to the website, wewantpicks.com. We have a whole bunch of tools. We have picks. We have bets. I already flipped the entire website over for Noche UFC. The Noche UFC picks and bets are up right now this second. We're obviously adding more bets as time moves on, but they're up right now. We also have tools. One of them is the fight simulator. You can run the fight simulator for Noche UFC. This simulates every fight on the card 100,000 times and gives you the outputs. We have a tape index. If you want to start doing your research for, let's say, UFC 320, it's up. It's ready to go. Go to the tape index in the menu, select your event, then select your fighter. You get their full fight history, who they beat, who they lost to, canceled fights. If there's a red play button, you click it, video pops up. You can go ahead and do your tape study. We have an optimizer. You don't need this yet for Noche UFC. You'll need it towards the end of the week. But this will build DraftKings and FanDuel fantasy lineups for you. And here's a look at a whole bunch of the cards coming up. We obviously just finished UFC Paris, but you're going to get UFC 320. You're going to get Noche UFC. You're going to get UFC Perth. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member. At the top, it's only $10 for an entire month.